Hello, my name is Maria, and I would like to unpack some standards for Moreland. Um, I am choosing a standard that relates to informative writing and standards and substandards corresponding. Informative writing is a skill to polish and develop throughout life, not just throughout school years. And I would like to underline some points, nouns, and verbs that this standard offers to master, right? Like skills to master. I will share my screen. So let's take a look. Students have to write texts, examine, and convey complex ideas, concepts, information. So if we take a look at the verbs of the standard and its common core, state standards, I think that's one of the most fundamental writing standards because argumentative writing is probably on the next level. Informing is simply stating a range of ideas and concepts and information, while our argumentation is already analyzing the validity and the standpoint of the claims and so forth. So I prefer to teach argumentative writing after informative writing. The big ideas of this standard are related to verbs that this standard expresses, right? The range of actions that we're supposed to take in order to meet this standard. We have to write, we have to examine, we have to convey. And that implies a big list of other skills, so to speak, deconstruction of the standard. We need to be able to introduce a topic. And then as we introduce it, we need to be able to organize different ideas, ranges of ideas, concepts, and information. We need to aid our readers' comprehension. Next step is to also develop the topic. And that is done by selecting the most appropriate evidence, facts, definitions, extensions, quotes, details, and so forth. Then we end up with a cloud of ideas that we have to coherently link to one another, organize transitions, clarify doubts of our imaginary, so to speak, audience, create cohesion, that's called. As we do so, we have to do it in a formal style, so we have to focus on formality of our expressions, as well as formatting it in appropriate MLA or APA style, and then provide a satisfying concluding statement. One, two projects or activities that we could use in order to engage students both in presential and virtual mode are varied. Let's begin with one of the first verbs that this standard expects us to practice and master: examining ideas. It's the first skill I would like to focus on. Takes reading comprehension, concentration, focus, ability to analyze, connect, compare, conclude, question, and so forth. So a range of activities that we could use in order to examine texts and analyze texts. They are numerous. These could be annotations, short responses. Let me take a look. That could be quizzes, this could be discussions in the classroom or breakout rooms via Zoom, verbal or written discussions, gallery walks in the physical classroom or in a virtual reality classroom, and so forth. After we examine the texts, we need to start gathering information. So as we gather evidence, we could use annotation tools to shape our own ideas, or that could be in a physical classroom when we deal with hard copies. We could annotate on margins. There are so many different devices right now that also provide both students and teachers with the opportunity to annotate and check, just as Teach Now program offers. So then we gather all the appropriate evidence, and we end up with a cloud of evidence, so to speak. We have to analyze the body of evidence that we gathered, look at it, and think, what does this body of evidence enable us to say? What type of statement are we ready to bring to our audience? And that becomes a thesis statement. There are many different activities that offer students to practice strong thesis statement writing. Worksheets, analysis, and so forth. Let me share with you is a small unit plan on informative writing, just to share some practices that I use to develop those substandards, deconstructed standards. When we inform, just to familiarize the students with purposes and techniques in informative writing, I could use a web quest, perfectly fit for online and presential mode. Formality here, different type of tones and styles designed for different audiences. Here is a small activity. There are many YouTube videos on that. Students may take notes, of course, as a application of appeal to prior knowledge. Introduction. So one of the substandards is to introduce a topic. So we have one lesson on introduction. This is 8th grade lesson plan. They analyze the strength of other introductions. They think of how they may be improved. They evaluate it. This can be done individually, in pairs, in groups. Then they try to finish some statements, and then they write their own introduction. Other activities address, let's say, transitions. Here is thesis statement, supporting evidence. So these are activities towards the outline. One of the stages of creating informative writing. It's already while you have your thesis statement ready, you start thinking, how would you organize and structure the body of evidence to prove it right, to prove it strong, to prove it to be true. Then we can address topic sentences, transitions, formality, and again, there are many activities. They may just choose the strongest topic sentence. Topic sentences are like plaques on the buildings. We would not be able to find a hospital unless it's written on the building. So students may practice that. Transitions as well, worksheets. They may just receive 3 paragraphs that are not connected with transitions, and they can try to create both in between sentences transitions, in between paragraphs transitions, and so on and so forth. After they are done with transitions, evidence, analysis of evidence, sequence of ideas, topic sentences, they may proofread it, they may peer review it, both virtually and in the physical classroom. Nonetheless, I don't see much of a difference. It could be a format of walkthrough gallery on the walls based on the part of the essay, for example, and then we can shuffle the groups, and they could just address the sequence of 2-3 body paragraphs and how successfully they're connected, how cohesive they wrote their paragraphs. As we finish the body of our essay, we move to a conclusion, and let's say it could be a checklist of questions. Is your conclusion related to your thesis? Is it rewarding your thesis? Does it analyze like from a new perspective, the points that you have proven in the body paragraphs, and so forth. Towards the end of it, we may ask students to check APA. APA, speaking of the activities that could be, APA web page offers packages of activities and also online tutorials. So these could be warm-up activities for them, and then as the last activity, they just check their own paper for APA conventions. After that, there could be a range of peer reviews. Turnitin platform, again, both for online and presential mode, offers peer reviews that are recorded. They may be anonymous, they may be not. They remain in the system. I can read them, I can evaluate them, and I can also provide a number of questions on what to evaluate, what to focus on, and on what to suggest most feedback. The platform offers 1 to 5 rating of strengths and weaknesses, and it also asks for general feedback as well. I find it a helpful tool. And students receive 1 or 2 more days to polish their writing, and there you go. We have our first rough draft that a teacher reads and provides varied feedback on, and then students, based on that feedback, proceed to writing the second draft. In high school, many students already have good knowledge of the majority of those skills. They do know what the topic sentence is. They do know how to cite an APA. However, this is an example of a rubric for a synthesis essay for seniors class. And we can see that expectations and conventions, expectations heavily rely on the same conventions. Exceptional control or strong control of conventions of writing, clear, focused, and interesting ideas, strong order, creative and engaging intro, high degree of craftsmanship, transition between ideas, proper citations, significant improvements, and that comes to improvement in between the drafts. So the students took the feedback from their peers, they took the feedback from the teacher, they were able to significantly improve their writing over time, which is another standard actually. And then structure and synthesis and analysis. So that's a process, of course. What else am I supposed to? How would I assess student mastery of the standard, and how would I monitor the progress? Well, I think that's self-explanatory. As I assess their formative assessment, that can be assessment of the strength of their thesis, their introduction. These could be the depth of their annotations. These could be some activities on topic sentences. I may also assign them annotated bibliography on the stage of planning and gathering evidence, as well as APA citations. And I have some such templates where they just fill out the thesis statement, and then they just erase this example of a source, and they erase this example of an annotation, and they supplement it with their own ideas. And I could just take a look at what type of evidence they gathered, and does it relate to a thesis statement? Is it the best evidence for a thesis statement they wrote? I can give them feedback on that. So they will be receiving a lot of feedback, verbal, audio, written, all types of feedback from peers and from me. And mastery of the skill, well, first of all, it takes years to master this skill, but yeah, probably sometimes I do not finish the assignment, the unit, up until the third draft. So maybe I may start a new unit and give new instructions, but I may give them another week to take feedback from my second draft of their essays and apply it again and improve it again and submit a third draft. So in that case, mastery is more probable. Thank you.